Hello everyone. Today I have Jani Hyatt with me. Jani Hyatt is an organizational psychologist and the director of the Global QUOTIENT. She works as a performance consultant, leadership trainer, and executive coach. She has more than 20 years of experience in the field of learning and talent management. Hello, hello Jani. How are you doing?
I am doing well, Kalpesh. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, my pleasure, Jani. So to start with, I would like to know about your personal and the business journey, like what you do.
Sure, Kalpesh. So it kind of started, I guess, back in college days when I was studying psychology and knew I wanted to teach, but didn't want to be in a traditional, school setting. And while I was in graduate school and working in a bank, got exposed to, personal and professional development, especially to do with, managerial development and supervisors. And that's when I knew, okay, there was this world called corporate training. And I said, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to help, corporate professionals and adults, learn kind of people management skills, to create better work environments and, to develop people. And so I kind of got myself started in the, mortgage banking industry as a management trainee and underwent a leadership development program during that time. And then gradually moved into roles in learning and development and instructional design and then, management training. And 13 years ago, I came to India. So I was working on a project here through the company I was working with in California. And I was offered a job here in India to manage the training team and start up an organizational development department. And I came here on a 1-year visa. And, 13 years later, I'm still here. So something I guess has worked for me. And, through all that, I just realized there was a lot of opportunity for leadership development here in India. And that's one of the things that has really kept me here. And since then, of course, one of the things that I learned through this journey of, doing leadership training is that, I wasn't always very sure, like what happened to people after I trained them and, did they actually improve their leadership skills? Did they, move up the corporate ladder and grow to new positions? And, that's when I started figuring out how could I make my leadership interventions more effective. And then I, pursued my coaching certification 5 years ago. And I had actually been trained in coaching about 20 years ago, really practicing as a coach and realized that coaching was that skill that really helps us bridge the gap between knowing and doing. And as I started coaching leaders, I could see that difference that I couldn't always see when I was doing training. And that made me even that much more interested in coaching and doing coaching and really enjoyed, the difference that I could make in people's lives and how working with them over time, I could really see a change and improvement. And so now I would say I specialize in customized leadership journeys and really helping organizations not just design a one-day training event, but really look at, what's the journey that a leader needs to go through to get from kind of point A to point B. And so I find myself doing a lot more leadership and executive coaching nowadays because I think knowledge is not the problem. It's putting the knowledge into action that actually makes a difference. And that's where coaching comes in. So that kind of brings me to where we are today.
Yeah. Really exciting journey, Jenny.
Thank you.
So the second question that I would like to know is, or my audience would like to know is, how can someone develop him or herself as a leader?
Yes, great question. So I think it goes back to what I was just talking about. I think it's about having a coach. Because see, if you go to a training program, it may give you knowledge, it may give you theory. You might as well go onto Google and read up stuff. But just reading something does not make you a leader. It's like taking input but not giving an output. So I really think probably one of the best ways to develop oneself as a leader is to have a coach. Because a coach can really work with you where you are and help you understand where you want to be, because everybody's journey is different. Every person has a different set of strengths, a different skill set, a different, experience and background. So everybody's starting out at different points. So
Yes.
the path or the journey they need to take is different for each person. So going
Yeah.
to a cookie cutter training program may give you some great knowledge, but oftentimes people have a challenge putting that knowledge into practice. And I think that's where a coach really helps you put that knowledge into practice, as well as gives you a customized experience that can help you grow and move forward. So that would be my advice for how to become a better leader, is to get a coach, a leadership coach specifically.
Wow. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Uh, while you have been working with the corporate world and also training and developing leaders for them, what have been the key success like strategies in the business world, like from your point of view?
Yes. So what I found, so Kalpesh, I've worked with like all kinds of different companies. I mean, I've worked with clients like Google, Boston Consulting Group, Deloitte, Coca-Cola, John Deere, Zensar, Amdocs, Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, I mean, Vodafone. So kind of all kind of different industries. And what I found is that, people are people no matter where you go. And the strategies that I think have worked best have been where the organizations have had a customized intervention to specifically meet the needs of their organizations and to specifically meet the needs of those particular leaders. So while they may all be similar in terms of that they're managing people, and there are similar kind of trends or patterns across the organizations, every organization may be starting at a different point. So for example, some of my clients are new captive centers here in India that have maybe only been around for 1 or 2 years, and, they're just kind of getting started. So versus, let's say, take, an organization like TCS or Siemens and some of the longer term organizations that have had a long-term presence in India, they've been around for many, many more years. So their challenges and their needs are different than, a new captive center that's just starting up. So I really feel that, the strategy has to match, the strategy of the organization and where they are in their journey and what it is are their challenges that they're facing in their industry and what they need to overcome. So I would say, the strategy is really having a customized approach and using a data-driven approach where you have some data and something that's telling you that this is where we're having a challenge and problem, and really having clarity about what's the vision for the organization and knowing that where we're going. Because just doing training or just doing leadership for the sake of doing it doesn't really work unless you have a very clear, intention in mind and a clear vision of what you're trying to move to. So I think that is what I have found that works for my clients, is having a customized intervention, something that's done over, a 6 month to 1 year time period, and something that, includes a variety of different interventions, not just training, but that gears it up with assessments and with coaching and with feedback to really, create the kind of desired outcome that the organizations want to achieve.
Yeah, great. So I have another question related to the same thing. So in the industry, you must have also observed that one company is struggling while another company is doing really good in the same industry, same demand. Uh, the difference is the leadership. Correct. So what is the importance of creating that leader, second line leaders, senior management in place?
Well, I believe, a leader's job is to create more leaders. And oftentimes, what I have seen in working with leaders is there's oftentimes a fear that I don't want to make the person below me better than I am. I don't want to make them, be capable of taking over my job. And a lot of that comes out of, insecurity and the feeling of competition. But I believe that's the wrong mindset to have, because if you don't have somebody that can step up into your shoes and take on your responsibilities, then how will you move to the next level? Your organization will not move you to the next level if they don't feel confident that somebody below you can fill your shoes. So I think, first it's a change in the mindset, and also to realize that, your job as a leader is to create more leaders. So it is very important to create the second line leaders, because you cannot do everything yourself. You have to empower, a team that's working with you to also to do things, because you just can't do it alone. You need a team to execute things, anything in a kind of an organization, especially with so many things going on. So it's very important to develop your second line of leaders.
One more thing, one area which, let's say, Indian ecosystem, startup ecosystem is the third largest in the world. But many a times, what we have seen is many of the good companies with good product and services are not able to scale up. So the lack is where they don't have leaders, second line of leaders who are scaling that up. So what will be your advice for them, for startups or young entrepreneurs? Because I feel if they create second line of leaders, they will definitely be able to scale that company.
Yeah, so I think, so in addition to what you're saying about, developing the second line of leaders to be able to scale up, I think the other part is, having, clear roles in your organization and really knowing what are those roles that are needed for your organization to scale up, and then hiring people that fit those roles. And because I think oftentimes what happens is we end up hiring people because we like people and we try to fit roles to them, which may not be the most effective way, to structure, the organization. And so I think that clarity of first of thinking about what are all the, the tasks that need to be done and what are the kind of roles that you need to be able to accomplish those tasks, and then hiring people that fit that. And I think what goes along with that as well is having the right person in the right role. It's very important that, people are leveraging their strengths and people are doing what they're good at doing, and not just I'm doing this because that's what needs to be done, because that never really lasts long. So I think to really, scale the organization, you need to have people that are strong in various areas. And that's where, working as a team becomes important, because while one person may be strong in one area, they're not strong in another area. So having another complementary team member that's, strong in that other area, to kind of compensate for that. So I think too many times we're just, we're not very clear about, what things we want to be done, and we're not always letting people use their strengths, which puts them at their best. And that's why, it becomes difficult to scale, because people are trying to do something that's, outside their core competency area.
Yes. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks. So the last thing is anything that you would want to share in your past experience of more than 20 years. What has been the key for success from your side?
I think it's really understanding people, and I think that starts also with understanding yourself. So, for example, when I'm doing any kind of leadership development intervention, I usually start with leading self first, because I think as humans, we have to understand ourselves first. We have to understand, what our strengths are. We have to understand what makes us tick. We have to understand our personality and what motivates us, what drives us, and then that, we start from that. And then it's about understanding others, that other people in my team, they're different from me. They have a different personality. They have different needs. They have different strengths. They have, different, abilities. They have different weaknesses, right? So I think it starts with, understanding self and understanding others. And if I had to, kind of roll those up to one thing, it really comes down to emotional intelligence, which is about understanding yourself and managing yourself, as well as understanding others and managing your relationships accordingly. So what we know is that that emotional intelligence is a much bigger predictor of success than our IQ. And this is where, it's kind of contradictory to maybe how things have been done for so many years. If you look at organizations, most organizations hire based on IQ, not on EQ. They give you some kind of aptitude test, or they look at your scores that you had, in your undergrad and your graduation, and they use that as an indicator of success. And I think, they have it all wrong, because emotional intelligence is what we know is a much bigger predictor of success than IQ. And so we have to hire more emotionally intelligent people. We need to develop the emotional intelligence of our leaders. And that is going to make a far bigger impact than just having a technical expertise in the job. So I think that is probably one of the things that I would want to share with, with anybody who's doing, who's scaling an organization or growing their leadership team, is to look at the emotional intelligence. The other reason for that is like, when we, look at research, people don't leave companies, they leave their immediate supervisors. And so that relationship between a supervisor and their direct report is one of the most important ones. So again, if a person's highly emotionally intelligent, then, or both people are emotionally intelligent, you're more likely to have a better relationship. And that's going to lead to, longevity in, in the team and in the job, and as well as, the knowledge management that's kept in the organization, the productivity, the satisfaction. It just has so many other impacts. So I would say this is one of the key things that we need to look at is, how are people responding to other people and how are they managing themselves? And I think, especially during this pandemic and lockdown that we've all experienced, we're not physically in the office meeting people. We are, connecting in the virtual world. And so having that, emotional connect, even if it's through, a webcam, is really critical. And how do we really maintain the relationship and build the trust despite the physical distance?
Thanks a lot, Jenny. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thanks a lot, Jenny. I will be listing Jenny's website and other links in the description if you want to get connected to Jenny. Thank you.